The idea of what we think as VR was conceived in 1965 by Ivan Sutherland in a paper which describes a machine mounted over a person's eyes to create an interactive virtual reality environment that the user is completely immersed in. 3 years later, in 1968, with help from his students from Harvard, he created what is considered the first head-mounted display system. But how did we get here? VR, also known as virtual reality, what comes to mind? Maybe seeing a 3D rendering of Venice from the comfort of your own home, or the motion sickness from playing Beat Saber on the hardest difficulty, and the frightening visuals of Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. This technology seems straight out of a sci-fi book, disposable at your fingers, but for a real dive, we need to go farther back, 130 years back to be exact. Sir Charles Whetstone has discovered something monumental to the conception of this technology. He was the first to describe stereopsis. Stereopsis is a phenomenon when you look at two different images with each eye that converge to create a sense of depth in a single image, perceived by the brain. This leads to the invention of the stereoscope, which is the same technology that is used in VR headsets to make the user feel like they are there. Though this can be difficult on your brain in video rather than in an image-isolated environment, which is the purpose of 3D glasses used in movie theaters. 1935, Stanley Weinbaum authored a short story describing spectacles that could transport you into a movie that could interact with and be a part of as a protagonist. But as we know, these aren't instances of teleportation through glasses to be possible, so we got the next best thing. Morton Heal's Sensorama in 1956. Morton had created a booth that made the use of stereoscopic images, surround audio systems, scent producers, fans to replicate wind in a vibrating chair. Only 6 different films were made for the Sensorama, possibly due to Morton being busy with his brand new invention in 1960, the telesphere. The telesphere was the first head-mounted display. This machine had wide images paired to stereo audio. The reason this isn't considered the first VR system is 1. It can only present stationary images. 2. And more importantly, it wasn't any motion tracking, which is vital in creating an immersive experience. The good news is that more developments in the head-mounted display were in, you guessed it, motion tracking and video. But unfortunately, our friend Morton was not the one to develop it. In 1961, 1 year after the invention of the telesphere, 2 engineers from the Philco Corporation, Camus and Bryan, created the headsight. The headsight was the first head-mounted display to have a built-in video screen for each eye and head motion tracking. You'd expect such a great advancement, surely it is in VR. Philco Corporation works for the military, and headsight was developed to have a more interactive visual on the dangerous territory with the use of remote cameras. In 1966, the military is back at it again. This time, the development of the first flight simulator was made by Thomas Furness. This development had attracted the interest of the military to invest tons of money to make improvements to the flight simulators. Who would have known the government was so concerned for the development of the male population's fascination with e-girls with beautiful princess disorder? Ivan creates the Sword of Damocles in 1968. Extremely similar to the headsight, but instead of looking at the battlefield's horrors beyond comprehension, he runs virtual wireframe 3D models. Sucks that you can't show your friends a piece of military-grade equipment due to the sword being so heavy and need to be mounted to the ceiling, then strapped to the user's head. A loose screw would literally be mind-blowing. In 1969, this is the year that Morton Kruger had developed the artificial reality experience, creating a virtual environment that responds to human interactions. Definitely the only important innovation that reached the public in 1969. Kruger later invents the video place in 1975, which involves a projection of a virtual environment on a screen and objects in the simulation. These objects can interact with your shadow without the use of equipment needed by the user. Aspen Movie Map is made by MIT in 1977. This program enabled users to wander the city of Aspen, Colorado. Google Maps uses this technology for navigation, allowing you to see the Eiffel Tower or the desolate wasteland that is Antarctica. Jaron Lanier and Thomas Zimmerman founded ZPL Research in 1968. Known as one of the first companies to make VR commercially available. After many years of refining this technology, we have the modern VR headset. But we're still forgetting the lesser-known brother of VR, AR, or augmented reality. As previously mentioned, To be completely honest, there's a reason this technology isn't as well known. It isn't really as useful as you would make it seem. Most of this technology is used for finding furniture and where you can put it in your home so you don't have to bring it back to Amazon. But yeah, that's the history of VR and AR.